Large metallic footsteps are heard as you see a warrior in a power suit challenging an alien-like creature that summons a horde of monsters. The lone soldier starts letting off lead into the endless wave, trying to take out as many as he can. The smoke clears and the stressed soldier knows he won't be able to get out of this. In front of his eyes, a huge dragon starts to fly at him. Knowing his end is near, he drops his weapon, but his suit catches fire, and in the flames, a man wakes up. It seems he has this nightmare frequently. He slicks his hair back, now worried on the day ahead. The last bunch of recruits are arriving. We shift to a plane and see a young boy strapped to the seat. Han Lee is his name, and he is the leader of an orphan gang, and his age surprises the military officials. They tell the kid not to worry, he won't be sent to jail, but asks if he heard of a place called Ark. Han is aware that this is a training facility for psychers, and psycher is a name for those in this world who possess a special ability. The major tells Han that he has this ability, and he won't have to worry about a place to sleep or food on his plate, as long as he trains his ability for the good of mankind. But Han's rage starts to show. Only I will eat? What about the other kids? Han will only accept this proposal if the major accepts to provide for the other children. He agrees as long as Han remains at Ark as a psycher. Han agrees, and now we fast forward to his arrival at this so-called academy. Psychers have different ranking abilities, and right now Han is a low rank, and this academy isn't easy, so he will need to fight to survive, especially if he cares about those other kids. He arrives at a tall building, clenching his fist in anticipation, but a commotion is heard from behind him. As he turns to see a crowd forming, a boy is bullying a young kid, telling him to go back where he came from. Tears stream down his face, and the bully tells the kid that he's too weak to be here. They're not on the same level. A group of kids tries to talk shit to the bully, but he just flares up his powers. He's a trained psycher. What the hell are you guys going to do about it? This display makes all of the kids shit themselves, and the bully holds up a rock with his telekinesis, telling the young boy that maybe he will be sent back if he's injured enough. Don't worry, you'll thank me later. But as he hurls this rock at the defenseless boy, Han comes in and grabs it with one hand, commenting on how slow it was traveling. It would have been faster if you just threw it. The bully gets angry, wanting to know who the hell Han thinks he is, and now a fight is brewing. But before the two kids can do any damage, an officer approaches, telling these fools to knock it off, and asks for the two to step forward. The grizzled instructor asks for the names, and the bully quickly gets informed. Del Simon, sir. Han introduces himself as well, and the officer asks Del if his special traits have manifested, and so far, he can only use telekinesis. Han is interested. Special traits? The hell does that even mean? The officer stops for a second, but unleashes a hellish gut punch on the brat. So you only had one power manifest, and you were showing it off, huh? And damn, this guy does not fuck around. He just laid Simon out just like that. The officer looks towards Han, and he actually likes that he stepped up to help the boy. But if you don't have any abilities, then you're worse than Simon, and he punches Han back a few meters. He tells all of the young recruits that they have 3 weeks to become first years, and if they don't learn telekinesis by then, they will be expelled. The officer introduces himself as the kid's instructor, John Red, and he will turn these punks into knights, ready to fight dragons. Now that introductions are out of the way, it's time to begin. Some time passes and we see Han running on a track. Some kids are struggling to keep up, but John doesn't have any time for these pussies, and he yells at them to get up. Get the hell out of here and go home if you can't handle this. Han runs and thinks that he can withstand all the physical pain, but he's worried about his psychic abilities manifesting. Will he even have them? The kid who was bullied earlier starts to faint. As he's running, he hits the floor, and John stands over him. If you plan to sleep, do it at home. The kid tries to say he can't run anymore, but Han comes in and lifts him up. Han tells the instructor that the boy didn't give up as he looks towards him, right? Han begins helping the boy finish the exercise, and soon after, John blows the whistle. All of the kids are exhausted, and out of the 73, only 40 remain. Every morning, they will start their day off with a jog like this, and all the kids are horrified at this news. And the next day comes, and the same 5 a.m. morning run was held, and this is the start of Han's training. At 8, they were served breakfast, and at 9, they started morning classes, where John would lecture the group on how to utilize their powers. Pick a body part and visualize power coming from it. The most important step in manifesting is visualization. Han thinks he will use his heart in this exercise, but nothing seems to happen. We shift to 12:30 and it's lunchtime, and Han sits next to Kuro, the kid that he helped. And it seems that this is his only friend that he's ever had. But standing over him is Simon, giving him an evil stare. The kid walks away, and Kuro says that apparently Simon is from a gifted program in England. Han doesn't like him, but if they can't use abilities like he can, they're going to be kicked out. But to Han's surprise, Kuro can actually already use telekinesis. Han realizes that he doesn't have time to worry about someone else. We shift to the evening and the kids have more lessons and combat training, and to finish it off, an evening run. After this, they shower and get in bed by 10 p.m. Han is in his bed but can't sleep. The living quarters isn't something crazy and much better than what he had before, but his mind tries to sway him to go home. But he has to stay strong. 2 weeks pass and more kids were unlocking their powers, but still, Han has no luck. He knows he has one option and asks Simon for advice. He approaches Simon and the cocky kid asks what he wants. Han tells him that he knows exactly why he's here, but Simon begins to laugh. So you want to learn telekinesis, huh? Well, I heard where you're from, they care about manners. So how about you ask nicely? Han puts his pride to the side and gets on his knees, asking again for Simon to please teach him. The boy sighs and agrees to help, and he grabs a pencil and immediately stabs at Han's chest. We shift to John being a usual Chad, smoking outside a window, and he can't believe that it's assignment day. But some guy opens the door, saying that he knew John would be here. John greets the man, Octo, and he sits down, asking about the new recruits. John just says they're all useless punks, but Octo doesn't believe him. John says that there is 1 or 2 decent kids. That Del Simon kid isn't half bad, but he's a prick. Octo is interested in Simon's growth, and the other kid is Han. He's very loyal, and in terms of the heart, he is the best out of all the recruits. He'd be a perfect soldier. But Ark is looking for superhumans, not regular people. If he can't use abilities, he can't stay here. Octo is interested and jokes around, asking if John knows the nickname that the kids gave him. John isn't interested and it's probably something bad, but shortly after we shift to the training field, as John looks at all of the recruits. Today, those among the recruits who can use their powers will be admitted as first years. Kuro looks over worried for Han. The most basic psychic skill is external manifestation. This means one's power will be visible from the glow in their eyes. Telekinesis is not technically required, but if you can hold this glow, you will be able to continue. Those who can do external manifestation are ordered to do so in front of Octo, the technician of the school, and those who can't have to go with the agent to be escorted home. Han sees the major and knows the kids that he's taking care of have their futures on the line. Tens of kids are rejected almost immediately, making them leave in tears, and Han's turn is slowly approaching. Kuro looks back as Han grips his heart, and we shift back to him being stabbed by Simon. He drops asking if Simon is crazy. Are you trying to kill me? Simon tells Han to relax. That wound is your psychic pathway. Gather your energy through that hole. This isn't something you can get by holding on to your chest and concentrating. And Simon already knew Han was using this as his core. But since that day, Han has been feeling psychic energy. It was only faint at first, but every day that passed, it grew more and more. But Han still can't release it. Now his name is called and he stands in the field, with his hand over his heart, quickly trying to find a solution. He has to do this no matter what. John is getting impatient and slams his foot down. All of the kids are terrified as John walks up to Han, telling him that a commander's orders are absolute, no exceptions. But as John winds back a punch, Han desperately tries to think of something, but then it hits him as he sees a pen in John's shirt pocket. Han is sent flying but gets up with John's pen, surprising the commander. How did you take that? Han raises the pen, and if this pathway is too narrow, he has to open it himself. As he raises his hand, stabbing himself in the chest, John grabs him and the pen drops, with the blood splattering down. Han's face fills with tears, but his eyes begin to glow. John sees this and sighs, letting Han go. He's never seen a less talented kid, but congratulations, you passed, Han Lee. Han grips his heart determined. He's finally at the starting line. Kuro runs up asking if Han's okay, and the boy says that he's fine, don't worry about it. Octo gets excited and tells him that as a token of his success, here's a bracelet, and he slaps it on his wrist. Han is taken aback, but this is the latest technology advancement of ARC, a bracelet-shaped device that has an AI. User verification, Lee Han, trainee soldier. Han is amazed, and Octo starts bragging because I guess he got a hand in making it. John interrupts the party, telling everyone to come to attention. The class assignment will be completed soon, and everyone is ordered to gather according to their class. The ARC's grade is divided into an A to D ranking. Take your classes according to your ability. The assignment is the result of the first 3 weeks of training, but please be aware that you can be promoted and demoted at any time, depending on your skills. And to the 25 people that remain, congratulations on your transfer. All of you must have thought that I was a real son of a bitch up until now, but let me correct your misunderstanding. I'm not merely a son of a bitch, I'm the fucking son of a bitch. And damn, John's a beast. I love him. In Class A is 1 person, Simon. In Class B are 4 people, including Kuro. And the 5 kids will go with John. The rest are divided into C and D, and Han is placed in D. He thinks to himself that he'll climb as soon as he can. And the 20 people in Classes C and D will go with the instructor here. This menacing man stands tall and scares all the kids, but he has a soft smile, contradictory to his friend John. He tells the kids that he's going to do their best and he's going to be their instructor from here on out. This shocks them again that this guy is so kind and he's trying to warm their hearts. Maybe he's setting them up. The kids start moving out and Simon walks past Han. Han looks at Kuro crying as he's walking off and tells him not to worry. He's going to join him pretty soon. Instructor Wei tells everyone that they're going to move to the gym. Now we shift to this large training area and we see Wei using a training spear, swinging it in all sorts of different directions. He finishes his moveset and everyone is left in awe. He continues slashing around the spear and Han is keen in watching. Wei stops and asks the cadets if they know the reason why they train with spears and blades, even though they fight dragons. The reason lies in the psychic equipment that they will use. There's no substance on Earth that can store this energy, but the dragon's skin and bones contain and transmit the same energy, and thus weapons made from killing dragons can also deal fatal injuries to them. Han questions how they even got a hold of these weapons if they didn't have them in the beginning when they fought the dragons. Wei's expression changes and he said in the beginning it was only hand-to-hand combat, and a single dragon killed hundreds of psychers. There are psychers that fight from range, but the first person to kill a dragon did it from melee range. And these psychers who fight in this area are called strikers. The kids are alerted to this cool sounding name, and Wei points to the weapons, saying that they're going to try out the spear for today. Han holds his spear and Wei comes up to him, asking if he prefers it. Han says he does and says that he liked the way that Wei was spinning it around. It felt really cool, and he liked the sound of it too. Wei looks over at Han and knows the bravery and judgment that he showed to Sergeant Red wasn't ordinary. And he's sure that this kid has been living in an extreme situation, and already he's got a knack for combat. Wei tells Han to let's do their best, and he's gonna help him as much as he can. We shift to 2 weeks later and Han is seen sparring with another one of the kids, Jose. Han tells him that the kid looks tired, so you should just surrender. But Jose doesn't seem on backing down and sends a spear thrust right at Han that he barely manages to dodge. The two engage and Han now has the upper hand and swings Jose's spear out of his hand. Today is the second week of the first year, and after class, and after defeating Jose, Han has finally defeated all of the students in class. Han thanks Jose for the spar and he learned a lesson today. Jose smiles at him and knows that he's being promoted to Class C next, and tells Han that he better be the next class president. Han is surprised and doesn't know if he really wants to, but Jose points to the kids behind him and tells Han that they're all already discussed it amongst themselves and they're gonna follow him. Han just thanks everyone awkwardly and nighttime comes. He wonders what it would be like to be promoted to the class president. He wonders what it's like to be promoted to the class president. But as soon as he goes up to John, John gets angry and tells him that he can't. We see some older students talking about John, reminiscing about how he always used to beat their ass. But they look out the window to see him sparring Han, who's holding a spear. John ignites his hand and lights his cigars. The older cadets are cheering Han on, and John overhears this and gets annoyed. But Han is gleaming with determination. We get a flashback to Han volunteering to be the class leader. John makes fun of this since no one else wanted to step up, but sighs, knowing that there must be some sort of reason the class trusts him. John slams a stick into the ground and throws Han a makeshift spear. John has heard that he is the top of the class in weapons training, and now it's time to show what he's learned. We shift back to the present and John takes off his jacket, ready to go. Han asks where his weapon is, but it wouldn't be fair if they were on equal footing, so Han will have a handicap. He will win if any part of John's body touches the ground, and Han will lose if he surrenders. Han smiles, and this is more winnable than he thought. He begins twirling his spear and John sets up his stance. The kids watch on, wondering how Han will manage to defeat the instructor. Simon peeks out of the window at his rival, but Han rushes into John with a spear stab. John is seeing through the movements and dodging each strike. Han leaps into the air trying to pierce John, but is met in midair. He's grabbed and kneed in the stomach. There's no time to rest as John's foot is coming down onto Han. He manages to regain himself and dashes back. He uses his spear to hold himself up, startled. Is this man really trying to kill me? John reads Han's face, and he's doing this on purpose to prepare the young boy's mind. Monsters don't give any sympathy, and they will kill indiscriminately. Han gets up and asks John if he fights with his mouth, but John doesn't answer, and grabs Han by the shirt and hurls him into the air. Han comes crashing down, hitting his head, but Han managed to land a strike on John, slicing his cheek. The boys start cheering for their leader as Han rushes in again. John is now impressed and wants to see what Han can really do. He dodges the first stab but notices that Han dashed behind him. He's using his own momentum to accelerate his attacks. No wonder the Major is so fond of this kid. John smiles with anticipation and Han takes a step. He spins his spear, creating a huge force, but John stands still, ready to meet the strike head on. The spear snaps into pieces, and one pierces John's chest, but he pulls it out with a murderous intent. Han now feels hopeless, and he's grabbed by the neck. John tells him to give it up. Surrender, it's over. John's hand starts to heat up, causing Han to scream in agony. Surrender or die, boy. Han still refuses to utter the word, and John continues to heat up, but Instructor Wei yells for him to stop. What are you, crazy? John releases his grip, and it seems the two are competitive. Neither wants to lose. Instructor Wei grabs Han, looking at John, disgusted with his teaching methods. John yells at the top of his lungs, telling this man to shut up. Today, Han won, but nothing will be gained by your cuddling. As John is leaving, he says that Han has proved his worth, and when he recovers, send him to Class B. We go to a new building as a girl is walking with John, shocked that he let Han into Class B, jumping all the way from D. No way the higher-ups will be okay with this. John says that Han's skill are actually better than Class B, but his psychic abilities are holding him back. The girl reminds John that at ARC, all they care about is psychic ability, but John thinks that the most important trait for hunting dragons isn't psychic power, but the ability to stand in front of unimaginable fear. Han Li has potential to become the best striker ARC has ever seen. It would be wise not to waste his talents, regardless of his psychic powers. Who knows, he might even save the world one day. The girl is surprised to hear this praise. She always thought that John hated Han, but she's informed that it's quite the opposite, which makes her think that John has a weird way of showing love. The same girl walks to visit Han in the hospital room and spots Instructor Wei trying to visit him again, bringing all sorts of snacks. The two take a peek inside, wondering if it's a good time, but they see Han practicing his telekinesis. He's struggling, but soon he's able to lift a marble without touching it. Both adults outside get excited and high-five, but it gets a little awkward. Wei enters asking how Han is feeling. Han says that he's feeling great actually, and Wei informs him that he'll join Class B tomorrow. Wei is proud of Han's progress. He even learned telekinesis. Han, however, knows his psychic abilities are below average, so he figured while he was in the hospital, he would try to learn at least this technique. Wei is happy about Han's mentality. He must train his powers. Most battles with dragons take place in midair, and you need to be able to at least get your weapon if it drops. Wei has an idea and asks the receptionist if he can take Han out for a little bit. The two are walking outside and Han asks where they're going. Wei thinks that Han's special ability won't materialize yet, so he'll need to learn to fight without it. And one way to do that is to train telekinesis to its highest level. Han witnessed the advanced move and is in awe of Wei's ability. Wei uses the poles as steps, telling Han that his abilities are like his muscles. The more they are used, the stronger they'll become. And Han has unlimited potential. He needs to train hard to surpass his elders. Han gets more motivated and we shift to the next day. Han enters the class, but an older kid immediately bumps into him. This kid is named Dimitri, and he immediately knows who Han is. He's famous around the school. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the class. Dimitri tells Han to follow him. They're going to weapons training. Han arrives and thinks to himself that ARC has been a hellish experience. Constant pressure, and never knowing when you might be kicked out for not being good enough. But weapons training is the one place where Han can release all of the stress. Han grabs a spear and begins his training. He starts smacking all of the kids around, and it seems Kuro was being bullied again. And Han tells the kids that he just whooped, that Kuro's specialty is his psychic power. Is it fun to bully one person? Be glad there's no psychic sparring. Dimitri watches and starts feeling excitement. He can't wait to fight Han for real. The next chapter begins with Kuro's perspective of Han saving his ass. He's so happy that his friend is here to save him. Han calls out to Dimitri, "Is this what you call sparring?" Dimitri's face turns evil as he says this is ARC's way. They don't pity the weak. They're actually helping Kuro by driving him into a corner. Han clenches his fist and can't think of words to say. Dimitri does agree that 3 against 1 is pretty boring. So how about we spar, Han? The boy doesn't get a chance to answer as Dimitri leaps in with an overhead slash. Han blocks, but Dimitri lets off another strike. Han has a plan to let Dimitri swing and exploit his poor balance, as we see Han striking the back of Dimitri's knees. Han thinks that he has him and tries to hit Dimitri in the face, but the boy manages to barely dodge the attack and uses his momentum to headbutt Han, sending him flying back. Han gets up. Headbutting? You said this was a weapon spar. Dimitri says that he's been training Sambo since he was born, and Han stands no chance in close quarter fights. Han gets up asking if Dimitri plans to wrestle dragons, and now a crowd is building. The older boys are cheering for Dimitri, telling him to drop that little baby. He begins to get cocky as Class B strokes his ego, and Han watches on, cursing these bastards. Dimitri is well respected as their leader. Han looks towards Kuro, but Dimitri dashes in. Han parries the first strike, and as Dimitri swings again, Han uses his spear as a pole vault to leap above him. He spins, increasing the force of his attack, but as he swings down on Dimitri, both of the boys' weapons break. Han realized that this was Dimitri's plan all along, and before he can regain himself, Dimitri rushes in ready to utilize his grappling. Han gets grabbed and suplexed into the ground. He puts Han in an armbar, asking him to surrender. Han doesn't bend, telling Dimitri to do his worst. The older boys ask if Han has the guts to say that, and breaks his arm. Han is now on the floor, reeling in pain. Dimitri tried to warn him. Kuro watches on, worried about his friend. Dimitri starts to leave, but gives Han some props. He didn't even scream as his arm was being broken. Dimitri tells one of his lackeys to take Han to the infirmary, but Han stands up with his broken spear and whacks Dimitri in the head, asking who the hell this kid thinks he is. All of his other sparring partners must have been soft. Let's finish this. But as he's calling him out, he sees Dimitri laying on the floor, unconscious. Dimitri wakes up, asking where the hell he is, but sees Han right next to him, looking at his bracelet. Seeing the Major give him an update on the orphans. He'll send a video next time. Bye now. Han is so happy that his friends are being taken care of. He looks over and asks Dimitri to swipe to the next picture. Dimitri is a little confused, but starts swiping through all of the pictures, and Han tells him that that's pretty rude. You did break my arm, you know. But Dimitri gets mad. Han also knocked him out while he wasn't looking. But Han reiterates what Dimitri said. This is Ark's way. Dimitri can't really argue with that, and Han tells the boy that he has no hard feelings, and Dimitri says the same. Han thinks back and maybe he should offer to help Kuro, not fight for him. Dimitri understands how Han feels, but coldly tells him that Kuro could die the moment he gets to the second year. Han is shocked, but Dimitri quickly takes him somewhere. They arrive at the emergency room and see a man being carted off in a critical condition. Han sees the man and Dimitri asks if Han understands the intensity of the training that is done here. Han questions the man's age. He looked like an adult. Isn't he supposed to be our age? Dimitri understands Han's point, but informs him that once you get to the second year, you start the drug injections. It increases the speed in which the body matures. Han is completely shocked, but Dimitri asks why he's so surprised. They are supposed to fight dragons after all in only 3 years. Ark doesn't have the time to wait for them to grow up. Han thinks that this news isn't too bad, and he always wanted to grow up as fast as possible. He always had to do whatever to survive, and was always competing with adults. He doesn't need a happy childhood. He needs to survive. Dimitri is impressed at Han's attitude, and Han understands what Dimitri wanted to show him. We shift to the next day, and Class B is taken for parachute training. Takeoff is at 4:30. Finish all of your final checks. Dimitri suits up, asking Han if he misses his hospital bed. Han looks back and smiles. He opens his bag and notices a lot of food inside. Han doesn't think this will be a simple exercise, but catching Dimitri's eye is Simon over to the left, also participating in this drill. Dimitri looks over and smiles, wanting to fight Simon as well. Simon looks back and sees Han next to this creepy ass guy. Han looks over to his right and sees Kuro, and he's already worried about his boy. But it's time to go. John orders the kids to get into the chopper, and they get in and John watches. This is the end of cleaning up after those brats. We skip a little ahead and already see Kuro calling out to Han, and even before they started, he always knew that Han was here to save him, always within sight. But right now, Kuro cannot feel Han's presence, and no one is here to save him, as you see him tangled from a tree. We flash back to an hour ago as the kids ponder on where they're going. The bracelets go off, telling the kids that this starts their survival training. Each of the kids has 2 days worth of food in their bags. The rest is up to them. Everyone is shocked, but Dimitri looks happy at the challenge. John tells the kids that the instructors will return in 1 week. Survive until then. Obviously, the instructors didn't leave, but want the kids to think that, as John scoops a kid out of the water. There aren't any more stragglers, and everyone else is on the island. They tried to separate the kids' landing points, but some groups stuck together. John tells his men not to look down on those kids. They're the same as adults. And once survival mode kicks in, they will all prioritize strength. And instead of trying to survive together, they will take others' rations. As we see a fat kid doing this exact thing, telling his boys to leave some for their leader. As we see a blonde boy with a bandana coming forward, telling these kids that they are fools. They need to get as much as they can before sunset. Do you guys think I brought you here to share this food? They need to get everyone's rations, so they can dominate this survival game. Everyone gets excited, and they even think that they can take on Dimitri, Han, and Simon. But a sound is heard in the forest, and the group goes to check it out. That's their next target. We shift to Han, washed up on the beach, annoyed at the time he wasted swimming. He looks around and knows that he needs to set up a camp ASAP. Han knows that the real challenge of this test the rations will become valuable, and many cadets will try to steal them from each other. We now shift to Simon seemingly being followed by Dimitri, and of course all this bonehead can think about is fighting Simon. Simon, however, just turns around saying that he doesn't have time to waste on a stupid fight and leaves. Dimitri gets desperate and says that he said that not out of hostility, he just wants to spar. He sighs and thinks that he was a little too forward. They need to get to know each other first. The sun begins to set and the group of bullies are still looking for the sound that they heard. But shortly after, they stumble upon Kuro wrapped up in the tree. They steal his bag, but Kuro begs for them to at least let him down. But the group doesn't seem interested. They tell Kuro that he's not going to die in a week and he should be okay, and they begin laughing at the poor boy, causing him to cry. And he remains stuck in this tree for hours, and in this time he reflected on his life. No matter what he does, he's always being bullied. What did he ever do wrong? All people ever did in his life was make fun of him for crying, and he begins bawling out again, but tires himself out, calling out to Han as he falls asleep. Some rustling is heard in the bushes and Han shows up, surprised at seeing Kuro stuck in the tree like this. Han makes a tent and placed Kuro inside to rest, and the next morning the boy jolts awake and exits to see Han working on some tools. The two enter the tent and Han shares his rations with Kuro. He knows his bag was stolen, so he offers to share. Kuro knows that he's being a burden and thinks to himself that he's so pathetic, but thanks Han. Han knows that they need to look for some more water. Drones are up in the air, acting as John's surveillance on the kids. Octo approaches his room and tells the man that smoking is banned, but John is obviously a Chad and doesn't care, and asks why Octo is here. The engineer is just bored and wants to know if anything interesting is going on. John shows him something cool, and we see a new character with orange hair, Meyer, who already made a raft and returned to Ark. We shift back to Khan and they found some drinkable water. The heat is intense during the day, so Han thinks to take Kuro back and wait it out. If they're going to survive, they're going to need to find some food. But all of a sudden, Kuro's eyes light up as he tells Han to watch out. He pulls him back, and one more step, Han would have fell victim to a pitfall trap. Han is amazed that Kuro was able to see that and thinks that this must be one of his special abilities, short-term foresight, a rare talent. Maybe being in this stressed environment let him develop this skill. This might be a good opportunity for Kuro to improve his talents. The bully group spots Han's camp, but open the tent to see nobody in it. The leader tells his boys not to touch anything, they'll come back later. Han and Kuro are walking back and Kuro is visibly exhausted. Han, however, gets a realization. Someone has been in their camp. The rock he placed at the entrance of the tent has shifted in its location, and there are many sets of footprints around the tent. They're traveling as a pack. Han tells Kuro they need to pack up the tent and move locations. The sun is setting as the two look for a new suitable spot. Han asks Kuro if he can see anything, and the boy is about to pass out. But he gets another psychic sensation, an image of a panther. He jumps to push Han out of the way, which makes him dodge the panther's attack. The panther circles around Han, and his spear is on the other side of the beast. It roars, but someone is flaring an ability, and shoots a beam at the panther, causing it to run away in pain. The boy asks if Han is okay, and now we see Jose is back. Jose lets go of his powers and greets the two. Han notices Jose's injured leg, and the boy tries to play it cool. But he ran into a trap that some of the other cadets set, and the boy immediately falls down, struggling to put weight on his injured leg. Han says that they also spotted a trap, and Jose thinks that the group that's looting must be behind it. Jose's not worried since he didn't have anything for the boys to steal. Once he got injured, he ate everything that he had. Han just sighs in disappointment, and now the group of three goes to find someplace to rest. The leader of the bullies looks up at the sky and we get some backstory on him, as we see his father inform him that he has psychic abilities. We find out his name, Carl, and the father thinks that it's finally his chance, and he wants Carl to enlist in Ark. The father grips his son intensely. If his son becomes a psyker, they'll have more fame and fortune than ever, more than he would have ever had making and acting. And when this war is over, psychers will be the military backbone of the nation and dominate the population. It doesn't seem like Carl wanted to attend this academy, but he was forced into it. And back on the island, we see Simon being annoyed by Dimitri again, who's training doing one-handed push-ups. Simon asks if the boy is tired and they're running out of food, and how the hell is he going to survive the next couple of days? Dimitri, the bonehead, doesn't care. He only cares about his muscles. He wants to be a great striker. Simon doesn't agree since he thinks they only need their psychic abilities, which pisses off Dimitri. He sighs and says that he misses Han. He was the only one able to put up a good spar. Simon begins to get angry seeing how Dimitri fought his rival, and the bait worked as Dimitri smiles, thanking Han in his mind for giving him the opportunity to fight Simon. We shift back to Han and the boys and they set up a fire in a small cave. Han says himself and Kuro will go collect firewood and Jose will defend the base, and thanks to his ignition ability, they'll be able to keep warm, and having fire means that they'll be able to cook fish. as Han and Kuro look at a fresh pond. Kuro wonders how they plan to catch the fish without rods, but Han just interrupts, thanking Kuro for finding the cave. Kuro is not used to getting compliments as his brain almost explodes. Han apologizes and says that he thought he was helping Kuro, but he won't be able to defend him forever, and he's going to need to be his own man in order to survive. But yesterday gave Han his answer. Kuro is a psychic prodigy. They can work together to survive. After all, they are friends. We get some backstory on Kuro, and he was an orphan with no name in Japan. His whole life he was mocked and ridiculed. But finally, for the first time, he has a friend that believes in him. Kuro's powers start to manifest and he dives his head into the pond. He can see where the fish are moving. Han watches on and is amazed. If Kuro can combine this ability with telekinesis, he'll be able to catch the fish without tools. And right on cue, Kuro catches one out of the water. They both walk back to the cave with bowls full of fish, and Han is amazed at his friend's skills. But something alerts Han as he rushes towards their hideout, telling Kuro to stay back. He rushes into the cave and sees Jose beaten on the ground. Dimitri throws Simon a sparring sword, and he's confused on why this kid brought sparring equipment to this training. Dimitri was torn between using double swords lately, which makes Simon sigh. Dimitri asks why Simon even agreed to spar, and Simon says that if Dimitri was able to fight Han, then he has to be Class B's leader, and knows that he's strong. Let's see if you deserve to be in Class A. Dimitri's aura spikes and he starts to like these new kids. The two dash in with their swords, but Simon stops right before engaging, causing Dimitri to miss. He stabs his sword into Dimitri's chest, but the boy doesn't give up, as Dimitri slashes Simon away. He rushes in and lets off a barrage of strikes, causing Simon to stagger. He dodges a vertical slash and uses his ability to move behind Dimitri, but the Serbian was able to dodge at the last second. He gets on his back and swats Simon's sword away. Simon disengages now, but still has no weapon, and Dimitri takes advantage. But Simon uses his telekinesis to hit Dimitri in the head with his distant sword. Simon brushes his hair back and says that Dimitri would have won if this was a weapon spar, but they are psychers after all, and thinks to himself that this must mean that Han is stronger than this guy. We shift back to Han holding Jose, calling out to him. Jose wakes up and tells the two that he isn't dead, so stop yelling. Han questions who did this to him, and it was none other than Karl Heinz. He has a group of 7 men, and they took all of their food. Jose fears that they will be back again, but Han has had enough. He won't let these punks steal their food and beat up his friends. He escorts Jose out and looks for a new location, and when the sun goes down, the battle is on. That's when Han will attack. Nighttime comes and Han and Kuro are stalking out Karl's group. Han thinks that this will be impossible to attack alone, but the two of them can do it. Kuro doesn't want to let his friends down and starts channeling his powers. He uses telekinesis to lift and throw rocks, and it starts hitting Karl's goons. One of the men goes down and alerts the rest of the group out. 2 goons rush in towards the bushes, but Kuro can predict their movements and pelts them with rocks. Han jumps into melee and starts whacking them down one by one. Karl comes out annoyed at what's going on, and Han holds his spear ready to face him. Karl is shocked that Han came out so soon. And did he take out all 6 of his men by himself? No, that's impossible. Karl knows that Han is not alone and asks Han who's with him. Han tells Kuro to come out, but he can handle this guy by himself. Karl's veins bulge at the fact that his squad was beaten by Han and a loser like Kuro. Han starts to get angry as well, and he's here to avenge Jose. This won't be a spar, so Han won't go easy. Karl takes off his shirt, telling Han that he will crush him, and Han prepares his aura. Karl charges in, but is whacked in the head by Han's spear. Karl doesn't relent and continues his assault, but Han ducks under his slash and hits him again in the chest. Karl grits his teeth in pain, but Han mocks him. Brace yourself, Karl. This is only the start. Karl's anger builds as he tries to strike Han again, but is hit repeatedly until the boy falls onto the floor with blood dripping from his mouth. Just how strong is Han? This is impossible. Han stands over Karl and tells him that this is for Jose. You didn't give him any sympathy when you beat him, did you? Karl still is fuming, cursing Han for looking down on him. We get some more backstory, as Karl was a renowned actor in Germany, but his father took advantage of his whole career and fame, and his greed had no end. Karl manages to get up, and he did not come here to be stopped by Han, and he throws sand into the boy's face and punches him brutally. Kuro tries to help, but Karl's menacing stare makes him freeze, as Karl unleashes several punches into Han's stomach. Han is out on the floor, as Karl picks up his spear to end this, but Kuro uses his power to stop Karl. Karl just walks up to the boy and grabs him by the collar. Why are you even here, loser? You're so useless. A piece of shit like you should have been kicked out already. But in his little rant, Han stands behind him and punches him into the floor, asking if Karl thinks that he is useful. He only hid behind his numbers, and all of Han's friends are way better than him. Han tells Karl that he has too many obstacles in front of him to climb, and he's nothing. Han raises his spear, but misses Karl's face on purpose, telling the boy that everyone has a reason to climb, but he just needs a different one, and warns the boy not to touch his friends again. He won't spare him twice. Carl just laughs on the floor, defeated, and after this training, he actually left Ark on his own free will. And Han, along with his friends, passed the exam on the remaining 3 days. The choppers come back, ready to escort the kids as they look up relieved that it's finally over. A group of boys comes up to Han and his boys, thanking them for sharing their food. It's only because of them that they got through this. They also praise Kuro and Jose's skills, but Jose stops them and says nothing would have been possible without Han, so thank him. And like this, the survival training has ended, and for the first time, the kids are happy to hear John's voice. But they are called to board the helicopter when their name is called, and this confuses Han. Why only after they're called? We shift to John's chopper, and the entire exercise was being monitored by the staff, and only 4 kids were chosen: Dimitri, Han, Kuro, and Simon. This wasn't a regular training. This was to find prodigies that would give Ark the best soldiers to fight their enemy, and these 4 cadets are ready for the level 2 advancement. We shift back to Ark and Han has a day off. Jose comes up to him asking him if he's ever played soccer, and Han says that he has. We shift to the field where a bunch of the boys are gathered, and Jose, Han, and Kuro are on one side with Dimitri and Simon on the other. At Ark, holidays are only ever had when there's something of great importance. And the reason today was a day off was because all of the instructors had a meeting, an advanced evaluation for level 2. The Chief of Staff, Recor, starts the conversation, and Sasha Grace chimes in, saying that this time there's only 4 worthy cadets. What are they like? Recor says Dimitri and Simon are the most capable in every field. Han, however, has the lowest psychic ability, and if it wasn't for John, he wouldn't have been advanced. Why should they let him proceed? State your reasons. And Shrunk Way begins going back to Han's spar with John, and how he showed no fear and even injured John. Han is outstanding with weapons, and his fighting ability is impeccable, and he's a perfect soldier. Recor is impressed that Wei is giving some high praise, and John chimes in that Han also weaves in his psychic powers into his weapons, and this increases the strength of his strikes. And the most incredible part is that he came up with these methods without being taught. We shift back to the game and it's getting heated, and Han even scores a golazo out of nowhere, which impresses Jose. Dimitri starts getting annoyed, saying that Simon is supposed to be good. Isn't he from England? Don't they play soccer over there? But Simon just tells the boy to shut up. We shift back to the meeting and we get some chilling news as Sasha slams her hand on the desk with a picture of Kuro. He's psychic sensitive. If he advances to the next level, he might die. John sighs and says that Kuro's psychic ability is the greatest out of the 4, and he already has short-term foresight, which will be vital in the upcoming operations. His only issue is his weak mentality. But this is another reason why Han needs to advance. Kuro is influenced deeply by Han, and given time, Han will sculpt him into a stronger man. Recor sighs, and it seems the 2 instructors are eager to promote Han, huh? We shift back to the soccer game, and Jose is crossing everybody up, and he passes the ball to Han for another goal. The 2 shake hands, but an instructor comes to ruin the fun. John tells them that he confirmed that all 4 of the candidates are confirmed for advancement. Han clenches his fist, but Jose puts a hand on his shoulder, congratulating him for this achievement. Make sure to save a spot for me, huh? As he has a wide smile. This calms Han down, and he shakes Jose's hand, telling him that they're gonna meet again. John tells everyone to return to their dorms, and for those that are advancing, they should gather their equipment. Han turns to thank John for helping him advance, but John doesn't think he should be too excited. Now, he can't quit, and if he manages to survive level 2, they're gonna meet again. Survive, Han Lee. Han gives John a salute, and this ends their journey. For now. We see the 4 boys with their things walking together, and Dimitri is pumped, but Kuro is visibly nervous. They're going to have an operation to become adults. Han tells them that it's going to be okay. Dimitri is just excited to get stronger. They arrive and Sasha is the one to greet them. She will take care of them for the next 5 weeks. Han is surprised by the timeline. Their bodies will take 5 weeks to become adults. The first 2 are spent in incubation, and the last three is rehab training. The group is nervous to be stuck in a tube for 2 weeks straight, but Han breaks the silence, telling his friends that he's going to see them in 14 days. They all join hands, and Sasha is further interested in the boy that John recommended. The boys are strapped up, and Sasha orders for the operation to begin as her tanks fill with green fluid. Dimitri and Han immediately feel the effects, and it's suffocating. Sasha knows that every child feels claustrophobia, and especially in this stage. But soon they're gonna fall asleep as the anesthesia is administered, and the boys are put to sleep. A week passes and nothing went wrong yet, but today's procedure will be a turning point in their lives. This is how far humans must go to survive. One of the nurses tells Sasha to take a break. She looks tired. She exits the room and spots John just chilling on the couch. Sasha points out that John always said that he had no interest in children, yet here he is every day checking on his cadets. He just says that he's here to make sure that the doctor doesn't damage his assets or kill them. Sasha gets annoyed and says everything is fine for now. They are now administering the second culture fluid. This substance has Dragon's psychic core a highly concentrated fluid that contains a dragon's heart, and the boys are forced to resonate with the core, and in turn, they will have a better connection with their powers. John takes a hit of his cigar and thinks that maybe Han will have a better time using his abilities. But interrupting the two, Sasha's bracelet goes off, and she sprints back into the lab to see something is wrong with Han. He's regained consciousness, and if he's awake, he's gonna start feeling an intense amount of pain. Sasha goes to stop the procedure, but John stops her. Han has to advance no matter what. You can't stop this now, Doctor. Sasha's conflicted on what to do, but we time skip to see a grown-up Chad Han talking to Sasha. And this situation has never happened to them before. This is the first time a psyker displayed resistance to psychic abilities. We shift back to the present as Han is banging on the glass and Sasha begins tearing up. She has to stop this. Han might die. But John holds her down. Han didn't come this far to quit. Continue to treatment. Without the psychic resonance, if it's that bastard Han, he's gonna be fine. We shift back to grown-up Han talking with Sasha as she tells him that he only developed physically, which is a rare case, and asks if he feels okay. Han actually feels great, he doesn't have anything to worry about. At least he knows he won't be kicked out if his abilities aren't up to par. Sasha brushes her hair back, amazed at his mental fortitude. No wonder John is so connected to him. The two are alike. But psychic powers are directly related to one's mental strength. But in Han's case, his power is so weak, even though his mentality is so strong. It must have something to do with the resistance to psychic abilities. Han leaves and sees Dimitri. Long time no see, huh? Simon is right behind him and the three catch up. 5 weeks passed in a flash. Everyone changed so much, especially Kuro, and he doesn't look like such a pussy now. Damn, Han says. He's so happy that everyone survived. But Simon has an attitude. Who made Han the leader anyways? Han is confused on what he did, but now Kuro and Han go to the level 2 building. There's no real difference from level 1, but now each cadet will train within a squad that has up to 10 members. There are 12 squads in the second level. Han and Kuro enter the room as the leader of squad 7 introduces himself as Kato. He knows all about the two and tells them there are several types of training in level 2. Firearms, airborne, and mock battles. Han knows that firearms training is important because it's still effective on the minions of the dragons. We are introduced to the minions that humans have knowledge of. There are low intellect ones like ogres, grunts, and wolves, but also there are high intellect minions called Elau who serve as commanders. And apparently those bastards have psychic abilities and can ward off physical weapons. The good news is they aren't like dragons who have unlimited energy, so they die pretty quickly once they run out. All of these training methods are competitions between other squads, and mock battles are held in an artificial forest in a training arena. The main event is Capture the Flag. It requires excellent teamwork and focus, but can be extremely dangerous. The weapons aren't bladed, but they're still made of steel, so injuries are frequent. The airborne training is also like a spar with the goal to knock your opponent off of their drone, and there's always a supporter in the back manipulating the drones to help their squad survive. Up until now, no one in Squad 7 was good enough to be a supporter, but with Kuro here, that might change. Kuro doesn't answer confidently, and a big blonde guy starts barking at Kuro. This isn't a question, boy. You gotta fulfill your role. Han chimes in saying if this is psychic related, then he's sure Kuro will do it. But he's not the type to perform well if you pressure him. The blonde Hulk gets into Han's face, telling him to shut the fuck up. But Han stands unfazed. Kato tells the man to chill. It's their first day after all. But he warns Han to show some respect. Everyone here is his senior after all. Kato's face turns sinister, and to be honest, Han, the only reason why you're here is because they wanted Kuro, and you two are a package deal. None of the squad members expect much out of Han, who still has a low psychic rank, and the whole squad begins laughing. Han clenches his fist in anger, but says he understands. You won't get in their way, squad leader. The two men shake hands, but despise each other inside of their minds. Han goes to take a shower, and we shift to the shooting range, and Han is excelling in all of the exercises, impressed with his own skill. Kato looks towards Kuro, asking what the hell he's doing. He shakes his head and scolds the boy. We shift back to Han's shower, wondering if Kuro is still too mentally weak. Kato meets with Han, telling him that he's on standby for the next mock battles. And since their squad has more members than others, they need to sit some people in order to make it fair. But everyone is able to spectate, so have fun watching. All of the squads group up in the gym watching the battle, and Kato mentions a new star in Group 3. Han knows that this must be Simon, and that bastard is a psychic genius. The blue team holds up their weapons, shocked that Squad 3 is so aggressive. But the reason they're like this is because they're so confident in their new recruit. They're gonna wipe them out with ease. Simon flares his aura, and the blue team charges in. But all of their weapons are taken, and Simon uses his telekinesis to slam them down on the soldiers. The rest of his squad goes in to finish the job, and Squad 3 wins easily. Kato thinks Kuro will be able to do something similar, and Han comes up with an idea, but as he starts to explain, Kato gets angry, pausing him. Do you think you're the leader? Han now knows why he's so hated, and holds his thought. Another boy calls out to him, and the two step out. He says that all the members agree that Han is an amazing fighter, but he just doesn't fit into Squad 7. Han is happy that they at least acknowledge him, but asks why he doesn't fit. The reason is because he isn't scared of talking to Kato during training, and this causes a power imbalance. There can only be one head in the squad, and Han being here will cause a divide. As long as Kato is the leader, Han won't be able to join any mock battle. Han closes his eyes and understands. He threatens the hierarchy. Han takes a transfer request to Wei, and Wei is shocked, but says he'll work on it. But all the instructors have to agree. Han doesn't mind and needs some time anyways. Since he doesn't have to worry about mock battles, he can train in his own ways. And while he's waiting, he can observe the battles and come up with strategies. Kuro steps into the room asking why Han spoke with the instructor. But Han just tells him it wasn't anything crazy, just about tomorrow's airborne battle. Kuro can now operate 4 airbits with people on them, and Han is impressed. Kuro is improving quickly, and he's climbing the ranks. Han tells his friend that he's always going to cheer for him. We shift back to the gym, and Han is watching. Everyone is now talking about Kuro as we start the airborne training. Kato tells Kuro to take good care of them. It's Squad 1 versus Squad 7. Han watches on, and we get some info on this game. The battle takes place on an airbit, and most dragons can fly, so it's only natural to fight them in the air. And these airbits can be maneuvered using psychic power. In an airborne battle, one person usually uses 2 airbits, one to travel with and one to use as a weapon. And most teams have a supporter. Their role is to manipulate the airbits at the same time, to minimize their psychic usage for their teammates. And this training is perfect for Kuro, since he can control 4 of them at once. Kato starts the battle and tells his boys to get started, and 3 of them fly out. Squad 1 charges in with 5 members, and they are attacking all together, just as Kato expected. Squad 1 has a plan, and 2 members dash to the sides. But to their surprise, 2 members of Squad 7 were waiting for them to pop up, and they quickly deal with these 2 members, seemingly like they already knew their plan. Everyone in the gym is amazed, and we flash back to Kato stating their plan. Squad 1 doesn't have a good support, so each member will fly with their own airbit. And since Kuro can control all of theirs at once, he'll only focus on the vice leader and Kato's airbit. And using his foresight ability, he will send them to intercept the next move of the opponent. The plan is foolproof, and Squad 7 is wiping the floor with Squad 1. But Kuro starts to get nervous, thinking that if he makes a single mistake, everyone will lose. The battle starts getting heated as strikes are being sent back and forth. The remnants of Squad 1 have to take out the support, but a guy tells his boys that they are gonna go with Plan A. One soldier dashes in, and another one uses him as bait to leap over the soldiers and jump on to the airbit, targeting Kuro. He gets past their lines, and Squad 7 is now in danger. Han is shocked. They should have protected Kuro. Now he's vulnerable. But as a part of Kato's plan, airbits 4 and 8 are on standby next to Kuro, and he's allowed to use them as weapons at the man flying at him. Kato finishes off the man holding him down, but turns around to see Kuro on the floor, and since he's unconscious, everyone's airbit deactivated, and now the match is over. Kato's strategy was to solely depend on Kuro, but right as Kuro was about to attack the bandana guy, he missed under his own pressure, and this cost him the match, and Squad 1 is the victor. If Han was the squad leader, he would have never left Kuro by himself. We see Han meeting with Wei again, and he reviewed the documents that Han submitted, and it was approved. The squad establishment request. Han is amazed that it was actually passed through, and the only reason it was is because Han's leadership is amazing, so they're gonna give him a chance. But now he has the conditions for creating a new squad. All he needs is 4 members, 1 from any existing squad, but they have the option to reject. If Han goes through with this, all the squad leaders will hate him, but he doesn't have time to care about this. He clenches his fist, ready to alter his path. Han thinks of who he wants to join his team, and we see a shot of Jose and Kuro. But unfortunately, Jose isn't here, so he's gonna have to start with Kuro. But there's one other person he can ask, Dimitri. Han rushes to his room and Dimitri greets him. Kato is disappointed because their winning rate keeps falling, just because of Kuro. The blonde man tells Kato that they should have got Simon instead, and he's pretty awesome. Not only is he an excellent fighter, but his abilities are outstanding, and he isn't scared to take on multiple people at once. Han is listening in on the conversation, and Kato knows Kuro can't do anything alone, but they don't have anyone to replace him. We shift back to Han's conversation with Dimitri, and Dimitri asks who else wants to join, but only Kuro comes to mind. Dimitri thinks finding more members will be a problem, and no leader will want to give up a member for free. Han gets to the point and asks Dimitri for his answer, but the man just scratches his head and refuses to join. He's next up to be the squad leader in Squad 5, and he can't leave them now. Han understands, and Dimitri doesn't want to be below Han and would much rather be his enemy, for now at least. Han smiles and pats the man on the chest. Don't be scared when we meet on the battlefield. Han is walking the halls and everyone is talking about him. He ignores their comments and all of the squad leaders are making their move, especially Kato. The 2 men meet and Kato is furious that Han was planning to betray him this whole time and refuses to give Kuro away. Han tells Kato that Kuro won't be able to show his abilities under him. Kato says that Kuro will develop them with time and he's still valuable. But Han gets mad. They don't have time to wait. Han knows how to utilize Kuro's abilities and can help him now. They don't have time to waste. A war can break out. Han continues ranting, but Kato gets furious, grabbing him by the collar. Shut up, brat. I'll never give you Kuro. Han tells him that it's not his choice, it's Kuro's. And Kato looks towards the boy with a murderous face, telling him that if he leaves, Kato will kill him. Han tells the man that he's all talk, and he won't be able to do shit. But Kato gets angry and punches Han in the face. Kato calms down and knows that there's punishment for hitting another squad leader. But Han gets up telling the man that he's gonna let this slide, and tells Kuro that he's waiting for his answer. Some cadets think that Han is a fool. Who would follow an unproven leader? And if he fails to set up his own group, what kind of punishment will he get? Han walks the halls stressed on what he can do. He's got approval, but how can he get enough members? But interrupting his thoughts, a guy with a skull mask bumps into him, but then dashes past. Han is surprised by how fast this guy is, and he's wearing his uniform so weirdly. Is that even okay? All of a sudden, the squad leaders are called. Sasha tells them that 6 more people were promoted sophomores, and they're waiting for squad deployment, and the priority is given to Han, since he's the newest squad. Han clenches his fist, and he needs to recruit at least one person here. Han stands up and tells all the new cadets that he's short on members, and he will accept anyone into his squad. Everyone laughs at him, but one man steps up, saying that he will join, and it's none other than motherfucking Jose. The two now sit in their new room, and they still need 2 more members. This is gonna be tough. Han knows why people don't want to join. They don't know if Han is a capable leader. But he thanks Jose for joining. He's always wanted to team up with him. Jose smiles and tells Han that all those bastards are stupid for not realizing this opportunity. Jose stretches and says tomorrow they gotta start recruiting some more people. But, interrupting them, a knock is heard on the door, and Kuro comes in, with his face beaten. Kuro left the 7th Squadron, despite Kato's warning, and this was the result. Han smiles, telling Kuro that he's awesome, and Jose says this is the reunion of the little squad, and they won't lose to anyone. Another boy steps into the room, saying that this looks interesting. Everyone talks about Han like he's some sort of rebel. Do you mind if I join too? The 13th Squad looks like the most fun. Jose says that he knows this guy from Class B. It's Canute Meyer. And why does he do finger guns as soon as he's introduced? This just ruins his whole character, but hopefully he does something badass. Canute thanks Han for accepting him and looks forward to working with him. Han smiles and tells the 3 boys that the road ahead won't be easy, and everyone will target them. And if they don't handle it correctly, they might be disbanded. Are you guys sure you want to go forward with this? Everyone doesn't have a second thought, and Han smiles. He has some weight on his shoulders now, but he's sure that he can do it, and tells his squad that they're gonna gather tomorrow.